Hey, this is Dave at DA Griffin Hobby. Today I've got a couple of 2500 series passenger cars. They are dirty, need to be cleaned, oiled, and hopefully polished up a little bit. There are two different finishes here. We have the satin finish and the glossy finish. I think these were a later production that had the glossier finish. I don't know exactly though, but I'm going to try some basic remedies before I go and try any sort of aluminum polish or chemicals. On a side note, I tried to clean up a couple of 2400 series cars, and this I did with just diluted dish soap, a toothbrush, and it took not only the dirt but some of the finish and the paint off. So if you're going to clean these cars with the painted tops, you got to be very careful. Not really sure what a good solution would be to clean these, or if maybe they should just be repainted. But they're off of these 2400 series Santa Fe cars. A little disappointing that it came off, but I guess that's how you learn. The scrubbing took paint off in some spots and not the dirt in others. I don't know. If you have a good way to clean these, the painted tops of some of these 2400 series cars, let me know in the comments. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm going to disassemble the cars so that we can get to cleaning the shells. These screws on the bottom, you don't need to take them all the way out. Just a couple of turns, loosen them up, and grasp at the end, and just slowly pull and wiggle it off. It's held on here to a ridge in the top, and then these two spots. Same with this side. It'd be nice if this then just slid out. It hits on these spots here, just popping the clips off the trucks and taking the trucks off. If you have the springs on here, which hopefully you do, just separate them a little bit so you can pop the truck out of it and then drop it on the tail. And with the trucks off, it just slides right out. And what you're left with is the shell, and in this case, the doors. It looks like to get these off, you'd need to remove the handles, and that's not something I'm willing to do right now. Let's do the same to this car. Usually helps if you pay attention. This car's got grooved ends that are open. This car does not. You gotta take those screws out. It's a mildly annoying change. Of course, now I'm wondering if the rest of my 2500 series cars have a groove or just a hole. But I will have to take a look later. Okay, and again, they just pull off. That looks repainted. Sometimes it's hard to know if it's dirt or glue that's keeping these things in place, or rust, or a combination of all the above. Once the ends are off, you can slide out the inserts, the silhouettes on there. And you take this screw out, and the whole piece comes out. Now that is pretty cool, I have to say. And then the base slides out again. The ridges inside the car that hold the base, the base plate are different too. This is another Silver Bluff car. I'm wondering if these supports are bigger in this car to prevent, what was it, warping or deformation that happened with the larger doors. Maybe they made the doors smaller and added more reinforcement, because this one's got narrower supports and a wider frame as well. I like the little subtle differences that they made during production sometimes. You wouldn't necessarily notice unless you start taking the things apart. I can't tell if that's making a difference. Oh, but a wet toothbrush. The wet toothbrush definitely did a little something. Depending how dirty your cars are and how clean you want them, you could just do a simple wet toothbrush and scrubbing. It's usually a good idea to start with the least aggressive cleaning. As because I found out with the plastic, I should have done something a little more just like a dry brushing on that first. I wouldn't say it's shining, but it's, you know, it's getting clean. Well, cleaner. You definitely have to use something like a toothbrush or something because all the grooves in the aluminum. You can't just wipe it down. I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera, but that made a significant difference. It's a little brighter, a little cleaner, especially at an angle. You can see a lot more dirt and kind of a yellowish film, whereas this part seems a lot clearer. So after working in an automotive shop for 15 years, I'm not a huge fan of using any harsh chemicals when I don't need to. I had my fill of that, the whole shop smelling of brake clean, stuff like that. But I will use WD-40 because I just really like it. Now this car definitely has a lot of dents and scratches, and not dents, but scratches and nicks in the finish. So it's only gonna ever look so good. It's never gonna be perfect. But I'm not going for perfection. Perfect post-wear trains are not in my budget. Besides, I can't see that well when it comes to it, so the difference between a perfect car running on the track and an imperfect one doesn't really matter to me. So just a quick scrubbing. I feel like the water did a better job than the WD-40. It's definitely pulling a lot of dirt off. I feel like the water left it cleaner, and being that WD-40 is an oil, more dirt, or is that cleaning it? I don't really know. I'll just keep rubbing it and see what happens. Maybe the WD-40 is getting more dirt off. Also wondering if I should just wash it with soap and water first and make sure it's dry and then go back to scrubbing. The side with the oil is a little shinier. And will I continue to just keep getting crap off of this? Or am I going to rub all the way through the metal and have nothing left? That would be a pisser. All right, so I'm going to keep polishing on this side. Well, I'll do both sides and see how it looks after it sits for a little bit. Okay, water, WD-40. I have not cleaned this part yet. I'm going to try another option I read about, and that's a mixture of 50-50 vinegar and water. I'm violating a major shop safety rule here. I have a chemical in a drinking cup. The lady that used to come and inspect our shop for things like that would be very upset with me. But you should never put chemicals in something you might accidentally drink out of. Now, I do not know if you're supposed to let this sit on there and work its magic. It's the first time I'm trying it. It does appear to be working, but is it working more than either of the other two? I really should have started with just washing the whole thing with soap and water, or even just warm water. And I'll do that on the next shell. Of course, the next shell isn't nearly as dirty. So once again, very non-scientific. So water and a toothbrush, WD-40, vinegar, and water. All three, as of this moment, have cleaned up pretty well. Again, it's hard to tell. This car is quite scratched. I'd say the least effective was just the water. Probably hard to tell in the video, but there's definitely more dirt still stuck in some of the grooves. I feel like the oil has left a bit of a luster that most likely will fade away in a little bit. And what is the vinegar going to do to the metal long term? And do I need to wash it off? So anyway, with the engines, I usually brush the loose stuff off, maybe give it a quick bath with diluted soap, dish soap, very diluted, and then blow it off with compressed air, and then kind of do a polish with WD-40, wait a little bit, and then rub it all off as much as I can. If it sits anywhere, I use compressed air and blow some more of it off. And my point is that I will go through a pattern of cleaning and oiling and washing just to get the best clean without leaving anything on there. So in my very non-scientific assessment, yeah, I don't really know. I'm sure there's a drawback to oil and a drawback to vinegar, and I should research that a little. But either one is pretty good. Just the water, though, didn't really clean the car off. All right, please hold. We'll come back. Okay, so the car with the shiny finish, I rubbed with WD-40, let it sit, wiped it off, then I washed it with a highly diluted dish soap and dried it off. Now, it shined the roof up pretty well, but there's definitely issues on the side, discolorations that neither the WD-40 or the soap took off. There. So I'm thinking this one's just going to need a polish. There's nothing else that I have that I want to really try on it. It said that baking soda can be good, but that can also you need to wash off right away, otherwise it will oxidize the metal. So for the car with the shine on it, I'd say that really needs to be a polish. This one is the one I did water, vinegar, WD-40. I think really the WD-40 is the way to go, at least minus the polish. So I'm going to finish cleaning this one up with the WD-40 and see what it looks like. Okay, so this shell has been completely wiped down with WD-40 and then washed with a mild soap, water, dried and blown out with compressed air. There are definitely places I didn't get cleaned on the inside, corners, edges, some of the grooves, but it's good enough for now. And once I get a metal polish, like a Mother's Mag and aluminum, I'll redo the car. I have a number of other cars to do too, so not a big deal. So, not perfect. Could definitely use a polish and a buffing. Maybe that would minimize some of these scratches, but that will be another time. But for now, it's cleaned up and ready to go back on the rails. Maybe after I buff it or polish it, I will replace decals. But that's not bad. And this is the Silver Bluff that I've not cleaned. And comparing the two, even though this was a lot dirtier, this is definitely dull and dirty looking. It did something. It was worth the time. I would like to see what the aluminum polish would do compared to this, so maybe I'll leave this one like this and clean another car and see how it turns out. So I feel the WD-40 did the best job, rubbing it in with a toothbrush, then rinsing and washing it off with a little bit diluted dish soap, then drying it with compressed air. Then did a pretty fairly decent job. It's better than nothing. I would like to try it again with aluminum polish. Shiny cars, shinier, but it definitely did not get all of the issues. You can see right there, there's the front of the car, it's a little discolored. So I'm gonna hit this one again with a aluminum polish when I get it and see how much of a difference that makes. And then this is the car that I have not cleaned. It's a little dull, not particularly dirty or corroded, but dull, a little dusty. I will polish this one and see how much different it looks from this car that I did with just the WD-40. And then I will see how much of a difference the aluminum polish makes on this car. Now the question is, can this single motored 2243 pull all 8 of these 2500 series cars? The answer is no and yes. It pulled the cars, but once it got to this portion here where we got a turn, it started slipping. So one motor is not enough to pull these 8 cars. So to be fair to the 2243 Santa Fe with the single motor, I left the B unit on to see how much better the Trainmaster is. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you have any recommendations or questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. See you next time on D.A. Griffin Hobby.